My wife's so-called business partner humiliated me at a party. The next morning, my revenge destroyed him. The laughter hit me before I even stepped into the room. Sharp, directed, cruel in a way that only wealth-coated arrogance could produce. I stood at the entrance of the rooftop lounge, fingers tightening around the stem of a glass I didn't remember taking from the bar. The city stretched behind me. Cold lights, colder air, but nothing compared to the freeze crawling up my spine. My wife stood near the center of the group. Elena. Perfect hair, perfect dress, perfect smile she no longer saved for me. Beside her stood him, Daniel, her business partner. A man with a grin that cut like a blade. A man who looked at me the same way someone looks at a smudge on expensive marble. I heard him before I reached them. "Your husband? Oh, he's harmless. You know, one of those quiet types. Background furniture." A wave of laughter followed. My stomach tightened, but I kept walking. Controlled, expressionless. My rage didn't burn. It crystallized. Elena's eyes flicked to me, then quickly away, as if I were some inconvenient truth she wished she hadn't seen. Daniel didn't bother looking at me at all. Not yet. Only when I stood a foot away did he slowly turn his head, lift his glass, and smirk. "There he is," he said, "the man of the hour." I didn't answer. I didn't blink. I simply watched him, letting the moment stretch just long enough for him to feel something shift, something cold, something he didn't understand. He thought he humiliated me. He had no idea how quietly I destroy the people who make that mistake. But he would, tomorrow morning, and it would be the last time he ever laughed at my name. I didn't react at the party. That's the part that always unsettles people, the calm. People expect anger, explosions, a scene. But I never give them that. I let silence do the cutting. Elena avoided my eyes for the rest of the evening. She laughed too loud, leaned too close to Daniel, pretending the tension wasn't suffocating her. Every time he whispered something to her, she glanced at me, checking, testing, seeing how far she could stretch the betrayal before it snapped. I just kept watching. Inside, the truth was already forming. The late-night meetings, the unexplained trips, the sudden temptation to separate finances for business purposes. Her perfume shifting, something sweeter, bolder, not meant for me, I knew. But suspicion becomes unbearable only when proven, and I was ready for proof. When we reached home, she walked past me quickly, like she was afraid of the reflection of her own guilt. "You didn't have to look so tense tonight," she said, voice tight. "Tense?" I repeated, taking off my coat with deliberate calm. "Yes, Daniel was only joking." "Was he?" "You always make everything so dramatic," she snapped, crossing her arms. I stepped closer, not threatening, just close enough for her to feel the weight of the distance she'd created. "I didn't say a word tonight," I murmured. "If you felt something, it wasn't because of me." Her face shifted. She knew exactly what I meant, but she was too deep in her lies to admit anything. She slept facing the opposite wall that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, memorizing every detail of her shift in breathing, the guilt in her silence. By morning, I had already made the decision. I wasn't going to confront her, not yet. I was going to uncover everything, quietly, strategically. And then, she and her precious partner would learn what my silence was really worth. I began with her phone, not by touching it. People notice when boundaries break. I wanted invisibility, so I watched. Patterns, habits, passwords entered through reflection on glass, contact names saved under harmless labels, her sudden need to shower with the bathroom door locked. 3 days in, I installed tracking on our shared tablet. Cloud backups are predictable for people who think loyalty is optional. What I found was predictable too. Late-night messages, hotel invoices labeled as business meetings, a photo of their hands, just hands, on a table, fingers brushing, wine glasses half full. Elena wasn't careless, she was confident. She believed the lie that I would never look, never question, never imagine she could betray me. That's what made her dangerous. That's what made me patient. Daniel, on the other hand, was reckless. He texted her at times no legitimate partner ever would. Missing you already. Tonight's dress, make sure it's the one I like. Your husband won't suspect a thing. He's too soft. Soft? Funny how people confuse silence with softness. While I collected evidence, I also collected strength. Routine became armor. Calm became weapon. Distance became clarity. And somewhere in the growing quiet between Elena and me, something shifted. I wasn't losing her, I was letting her go. Not with pain, with precision. Finally, one night, she left her laptop open on the table. Just for a moment. Just long enough. A video call record. Her in a hotel room. Daniel behind her, shirt half open, laughing about me. Laughing. And that, more than the affair, more than the lies, was what sealed their fate. I saved everything. Then I waited. Not to confront, not to argue, but to strike. The next morning was the ideal moment. Elena was still asleep. Daniel, however, was very much awake and completely unaware of the phone call he was about to receive. I dialed his number at 6:14 a.m., a time chosen for discomfort, for disorientation, for truth. He answered on the fourth ring, voice groggy and irritated. "Who the hell—" "It's me," I said quietly. Silence. Then breathing, the kind that comes from someone suddenly aware they are exposed. "What do you want?" he muttered. "You humiliated me last night." "It was a joke," he snapped too quickly. "I know what's going on," I continued, voice steady. "I know about the hotel, the messages, the video call." He froze. I could hear it in the way his breath hooked halfway out. "You have 5 minutes to meet me at the address I'm sending," I said, "or everything goes public." "What? Public? You wouldn't—" I hung up before he finished. I sent the address. A quiet cafe 2 blocks from his condo. Neutral ground. Public, but intimate enough to corner him quietly. He arrived sweating, shirt untucked, eyes darting around, searching for witnesses or allies. I slid a folder across the table. He opened it, and his face drained of color. You have all of it?" he whispered. "All of it. Elena doesn't know, you know." "No." He exhaled, sinking into the seat, panic clouding every part of him. "What do you want?" he rasped. "Truth," I said. "Simple. Clean." I didn't mean for it to happen." "Don't lie," I interrupted softly. "You're too good at it." He shut his mouth. "Good. Tell me everything," I said. "Every detail. Every lie she told you. Every promise you made her." And he did. In desperate, trembling confession. By the time he stopped, the sun had risen completely, and so had I. Not in anger, in certainty. I stood, collected the folder, and said the last words he would hear from me. My revenge starts now. Not with rage, with clarity. His fear was the first sign I was already winning. I didn't confront Elena with shouting. I confronted her with silence. I placed the folder on the dining table before she woke. Printed copies, screenshots, dates, times, every truth she thought she buried. When she came downstairs, sleepy and unaware, she saw it. Her breath caught, then snapped. She flipped through the pages with trembling fingers, dread thickening the air between us. You went through my private?" "No." I stepped closer. "I went through the truth." She tried to speak, tried to explain, tried to cry. None of it worked on me anymore. "Say something," she whispered desperately. "I will," I said, "but not to you." She blinked, confused. Then the doorbell rang. Her face went pale. Daniel stood outside, eyes low, shame dripping from him like sweat. "This is between us," she hissed at him. "No," I said calmly. "This is between all of us." I watched them crumble under the weight of their shared guilt. I didn't yell, I didn't insult, I didn't even raise my voice. I simply pointed to the folder. "This ends today," I said. "Both of you. Whatever you thought you had, it's dead." Elena reached for me, voice cracking. "Please, don't leave." "I left," I whispered, "the moment you let him laugh at me." She broke. Daniel stared at the floor, and I walked out the door without looking back. That was my revenge. Cold, clean, final. I moved into a small apartment overlooking the river. Quiet, uncomplicated. People think closure comes from apologies, from understanding, from reconciliation. They're wrong. Closure comes from letting go of something that already let go of you. At night, I sat by the window and watched the city lights ripple on the water. And for the first time in months, my chest didn't feel heavy. My thoughts didn't feel crowded. Freedom has a sound. It's the absence of someone else's lies. Elena sent messages for weeks, long ones, short ones, angry ones, begging ones. Daniel tried to reach out once. I didn't respond to either. They weren't part of my story anymore. And that silence, my silence, was the final blow they never recovered from. One night, as rain tapped against the window, I closed my eyes and let the last pieces of them fade. Not with anger, with peace. In the end, revenge wasn't destroying them. It was walking away without letting their betrayal define me. And that was the most brutal ending of all. Because the moment I stopped caring, they finally understood what they lost.
How could you do this?